Hi, my name is Thomas Johnson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Get Up and Get Fit Wellness Coaching Concierge. I'm also a C-suite advisor and investor, and you're listening to the How May I Serve You podcast, where I'm constantly on the quest to surround myself with the best coaches while learning how to better serve our executive clientele by asking them, how may I serve you? Today's show is sponsored by Get Up and Get Fit. Get Up and Get Fit will be providing students with textbooks and school supplies in Cambodia in honor of our guest today, as well as our philanthropic mission to impact at least 50,000 people per year. And today's guest, we actually have a surprise today. We have two people. We have a couple, first time in How May I Serve Your history. So today's guests are, not is, but are Kim and Mike Barnes. Kim and Mike, how you doing?
We're so glad to be here with you.
Yeah, this is fun. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So Kim and Mike Barnes have each spent more than 30 years on TV. Kim was a news anchor / reporter, and Mike was a sportscaster. Their two kids are recent college graduates. Now these empty nesters are using their professional and personal experiences to support adult children caring for aging parents, and are the co-founders of Parenting Aging Parents. Kim and Mike, welcome.
We are so glad. We have found ourselves in a place that we might not have expected in pursuing this endeavor.
Yeah, it's not something we planned on, but we're trying to make the most of it and then try to help others.
Yes, indeed. So, first Kim and then Mike. So, Kim, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I grew up in Houston, Texas, although I've lived in Austin for 30 plus years. So it's funny that if you ask me, I'll still say I'm from Houston, although I've lived in Austin way longer than I ever lived in Houston. So I grew up in Houston.
Awesome. And Mike?
I grew up in the Dallas area and then came down here to Austin in 1985 to go to the University of Texas and met this girl in 1988.
And that's a long story. That's a really long story.
Awesome. So you two met. So how did you two become news personalities? Because you are an anchor / news reporter, and Mike is a sportscaster. How did this happen?
We both were in a broadcast journalism program that they have at the University of Texas that we both had auditioned for and got in, and they were very small classes, which is actually, that's where we met, was in one of those broadcast journalism classes. So we definitely both went to school or went into our programs with that in mind, that the goal was to be a news anchor, reporter, do sports, but to basically be a television journalist. That was the program.
That's amazing right there. So you both went to the University of Texas. You met, you got your dream, you got into your dream majors, right? Then you got into your dream jobs. What is the next story, right? So you had a few kids, right? And you became empty nesters, and now you're caring for adult parents. So walk me through the experience. What led you to towards gravitating towards just this topic?
I mean, sometimes I kind of say sort of by accident, but not necessarily. But I think it's that I had left television news and I was doing media training and on-camera training and helping people with their virtual presentations. At the same time, though, we started having some challenges with my mom being scammed. She's single. So she's, was alone in a house by herself, moving her independent living, she had to have some major eye surgery. So just those little things were kind of going on in the background, I think, to where we saw it as, gosh, this is something that's taking a little bit more time maybe than we had anticipated, or really just sort of brought in experiences that we didn't really necessarily anticipate because nobody really talks about them. And especially with Mike's situation and his family situation, it just kind of started evolving to where it was taking more and more of our time.
Yeah, because my mom has Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's is not an overnight problem. She's had it for about 10 years, and it got worse and worse and worse. And along the way, my sister and I convinced my mom and dad, mainly my dad, to move from a house into independent living. And then as my mom was getting worse, we started talking to my dad about moving mom into memory care because she needed the extra care that my dad was having trouble with. And as we started looking at memory care places, we realized that even though we felt prepared, we're having a copy of the will, a power of attorney, and talking about how much money they could afford to spend, we still felt so overwhelmed by the entire process. Like, where do we look? What questions do we ask? What do we look for? What are the red flags? We had no idea. And we felt like, I talked to Kim, I said, I feel like if we feel prepared and we feel like this, then most people are really overwhelmed. So what can we do to help them by maybe starting a Facebook group just to see how it goes?
Wow. Yeah, because this is something that people don't often talk about, right? They tend to just go alone and follow the trial and error, right? So you saw that there was a problem and you decided to create a solution. So thus far, I want you to walk me through your next step. So thus far, how has your Facebook group been? Have you been able to provide value and through your group? Have you been able to provide some resources?
It's so gratifying. I mean, it just like every day when I get to go into the Facebook group and just seeing how people are helping each other and being able to see people know that they're being heard and that they are understood. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is that we felt like, even though we were here to support each other, that it could still feel really lonely, that surely I'm the only person that in the middle of my workday, I'm trying to field a call from one of my kids and help them with something. I'm trying to, why did mom get scammed again? And so money, solve one of those challenges, or, wow, we got to figure out if her Medicare plan is good for her primary care doctor, and all of these things that are so overwhelming. And so with that Facebook group, we just see that there are so many people, and what we noticed is that when we started it, it's been almost a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That quickly we just thought, well, let's just put it up and see if people are interested in being part of the conversation. And quickly we had dozens, then hundreds, and now we have thousands. We're getting closer to 3,000 people from all over the country, even a few from outside of the country. And it's just been amazing to see how the comments that they have, as far as like just being able to have other people to talk to about these issues, makes such a huge difference.
Well, you mentioned being alone. I think so many, it kind of surprised me because, again, Kim and I have each other to fall back on, but so many people out there feel alone, and they comment about that in our groups. Like, I'm so glad I found this group because I have felt so alone taking care of my mom and dad. And Kim and I kind of compare it to having a baby, because when you have your first baby, it is so exciting. You have no idea what you're doing, but it's exciting. And everyone tries to offer you advice. Neighbors, friends, relatives, everyone at work, they all have some type of advice about it. Here's what you need to do to help them sleep through the night, help them walk, help them run, that type of thing. Well, when you have aging parents going through problems, whether it's getting scammed or Alzheimer's or heart problems or anything like that, it's not something where you walk up to a friend and say, "Hey, how you doing? My mom's having trouble with her bowels today. Well, what's going on?" It just doesn't happen that way because it's uncomfortable. You're embarrassed about it. But then you realize there are so many people going through something similar that we have that community to give each other support.
Okay, so what are some frequent questions being asked within the group?
Let's see. I mean,
Wow,
there's
there's
many are around financial questions of,
Okay.
how do I, if my mom and dad don't have a lot of money, what can they qualify for? Or if they move to assisted living, how does that get paid? So a lot of them are around kind of the housing and care questions, because those are, it is so confusing. Do you have VA benefits? If you were a veteran, there's things in that realm. But then if you're not, then how does Medicare fit in? Where does Medicaid fit in? And knowing all it is so complicated. So lots of questions about that.
Yeah, lots of questions about home care and home health care. And there is a difference between the two. But people who are at home for whatever reason, whether it's at their children's home or their own home or in independent living, how can somebody come in and help them? We have questions about that. We have lots of legal questions where people say, mom's 87, dad's 89, and they don't have a will. I don't know. What should I do? It's like, are you kidding? Talk to them. Tell them that they need to have a will. It's not like they're trying to give things away today, but be prepared. And so there's so many questions. And the biggest thing that we're finding is that a lot of people, and I won't blame the children, I'll blame the aging parents, but a lot of people don't plan ahead of time to be ready because so many things that happen, whether you're talking about a will or a power of attorney or just communications with your children about what you want to do, where you want to live, what you can afford, by the time you need it, it's too late. Then you're in a crisis situation and you're pulling your hair out going, oh my gosh, I don't know what we're going to do.
And
Yes.
sometimes in the group, it's people that just feel like I just need to share
Yeah.
and feel
Mm.
like that other people understand my frustrations, because it is difficult. We have lots of people who say, I didn't have a great relationship with my parents growing up, and now that they're living with me, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And so there's some really tough conversations and issues that come up. And it's just great to feel like there's support.
Mhm.
And then we do interviews with experts from all sorts of different topics. Frankly, a lot of the stuff that that I've needed to learn about Medicare and Medicare Advantage and all of these other things. So we have all of those interviews that we've done as well, just to help provide people information. So sometimes you just even know that, oh, I didn't even know this was something I needed to know about, and help them feel a little bit more empowered and not so overwhelmed, because there's a lot.
Got it. So yeah, you definitely had me beat, because I was about to ask you that question. Yeah, because as a company, because this is a company, parenting aging parents. It is a company, correct?
Yes.
So you mentioned that you provide resources, right? So what type of resources do you typically tend to provide for such a group? You mentioned experts. What types of experts do you bring to speak?
Oh gosh, we've had there's so
A
I
wide
had
range.
no idea there were so many topics to cover. And I think one of the things that I didn't realize is that there are so many services and providers out there who can help you navigate this. But as the adult child just entering this, you don't even know that they exist, what they're called, how can they help you, and what do you even, how do you Google it? You don't even know what you're looking for. So it can be topics, everything from what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? How do you qualify for Medicaid? What is hospice, and what does that really mean? Because there's a lot of misconceptions about what that care is. It's actually something that you can potentially have for a couple of years. It's not just the last, that you only have 6 months or 6 weeks to live.
Yeah.
Hospice. So a lot of medical things, differences between home health and home health care, but also things like music therapy or sundowners or downsizing. I mean, just really the gamut of topics that
Again,
are related.
The legal stuff, power of attorney. There's a durable power of attorney. There's a medical power of attorney. Who knew that there's more than one? A lot of people don't have any, and they realize, oh, I need both.
Right. So just really any topic that comes up. We've had some about sibling, like having tough conversations, sibling conflict, just all of those things that you might be looking for, or again, not necessarily even realize that you need. Social Security. And just as I'm going through the dozens of interviews in my head, just all the different topics that we've covered.
Wow, you have a gamut of resources. as you mentioned all of these topics and resources, I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
Well, because how would you, right? This is something that we've never done before. So it's not something that you get any training on, and all of a sudden you just find yourself. And so much of it, I think, is how can we prepare so that even if I'm not in the thick of it right now, hopefully you don't have a crisis or something that's, a tough medical situation, but the more you can plan ahead so that you at least have most of your things in line. Not that you can predict every situation, because of course you can't, but the more you can have that at least have been a thought or a conversation, it's going to make so many of the other things all fall into place a little bit better.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So question. So what does a typical week look like, right? You two work together, right? You're running this company, and it's something different, right? This is kind of picking up a spiral effect. It's like a snowball effect. It's growing and growing and growing rapidly. What does your typical look like as business owners?
Wow, it's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, it's different because we work in different ways. Because she's not quite as organized as I am. No offense.
That is true. That is true.
But one of the biggest things we do is we're trying to plan things out and figure out what comes next. What's our next step? We're always looking for interviews and trying to figure out whom should we talk to next. As far as we still need to talk to. Like we were talking yesterday, we were out on a walk with our dog, and so, we still need to find another attorney to talk to, because we want to talk about the Ladybird Trust. That someone's asked about that. We need to talk about this and that. So we're always looking for different experts to talk to there. We're always looking for different people who want to maybe be a sponsor, to be someone involved with the company, and then just looking at just different ways to get the word out. Because the biggest thing that we're having, I'd say having trouble with, but the biggest thing that we're finding is once anyone in our age range, anywhere between 40 and 60 roughly, who has parents in their 70s, 80s, or even 90s, once they find out about our group, and they join. Oh my gosh, it's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I've been looking for this for years. Thank you for having this. But it's just a matter of letting people know, because everywhere I go, I played golf in a charity tournament on Monday, and I gave my card to a lady there, was telling them, there's someone who recognized me from my sportscasting days. Well, what are you doing now? Well, parenting aging parents. Here's my business card, and told
And
her
she
about
joined
it.
the group.
And she joined the group today. Yeah. And she said, her parents are in their late 60s, and, she's a little bit younger. So her parents are in their late 60s, but dad's starting to have a little bit of problems. So I'm glad to find this group. And so that's the biggest thing, is to let people know that the help is out there, because so many people don't realize what they can get, what's available. And so many people get in that rut of trying to blame themselves, because they think, oh, it's my fault that me personally, my mom doesn't recognize me anymore. I go to visit her. I'm planning to go visit her next week. And I know when I walk in to see her in the memory care, she's going to have that glazed look in her eye, like, who are you?
I feel like I might know
I'm going to have
but...
to say, hey, Mom, it's your son, Mike. How are you? And then she'll warm up a little bit, but that's not fun. And if you take it the wrong way, you'll want to put the blame on yourself. And it's not your fault. It's what Alzheimer's does. But there are so many things that happen where you want to take the blame, and you can't do that. You can't put yourself in that point. You have to be proactive and just try and take charge, plan ahead, and try to make things better for you.
And one of the other things that we've been doing too is we're really trying to get out there and share and speak. So, going into companies and things like that, where we can really help give them, hey, here are 5 things that you need to make sure that you have in place to try to help start the process. So being able to find those opportunities are really great too, because I think that, an employee who is at a company and is having challenges with aging parents, it affects their work production. It affects everything about them, and that's really difficult for an HR person to have to try to deal with, because that's not, they can help them get some time off if they need it, but how do you give them that regular support that they need and just the information that they need?
I really believe that everyone could benefit from your group, your company. Everyone. I don't care if your parents are not aging right now, but just from going on your Facebook good and going through the resources and learning, you could be better prepared to deal with those situations. And also the support. Most people don't have the support to deal with such circumstances, such problems when it does become apparent. You know? So you guys are doing an amazing job and work right now. So kudos to you too, Mike and Kim.
Thank you. We are honored to do it.
So what continues to drive you? What's the driving force?
I think it's just being able to feel like that the things that we're learning in our experiences of working with our parents, I mean, it just makes you feel so good to be able to share that with others. If I can help one person keep their mom from getting scammed by the gift card scheme, I would love to be able to share that information, or some of the little things that we've done to try to better protect her. I would love to prevent somebody else from having to go through some of those same challenges. So I think knowing that that there are things that we can do to help people, that we can give people hope and help them feel like they're not alone. And also just the fact that it's so gratifying to see the support and the help that people give to each other in the group. And that, even though I'm not even part of a conversation sometimes with people giving answers about a specific thing, because that's not necessarily something I've had personal experience with, it's so amazing to see other people jumping in. And we have just such really cool stories about that connection.
Yeah, like Kim says, it's just so gratifying when you see someone, just one person post, I am so glad. And this is just after a couple of days of being in the group. We accept them to Facebook, and within 2 days they'll post something about, I am so glad I found this group. It's like oxygen for me. I've needed this. I felt so alone. It just warms your heart. You realize I've helped one person and you feel so good. Well, if you can help thousands, and just seeing the fact that yes, a lot of our people, because they know us from being on TV here in Austin, a lot of people are from Austin, and we have people, we've been on TV on news stories in San Antonio and Lubbock and Waco. So there's a lot of people from Texas in the group, but we have people in, I think it's 41 of the 50 states now. And just seeing it spread out, and people get on and say, hey, I'm up here in New Jersey and I'm trying to find this and this and this. Anybody have an idea? And people jump on and they help each other. And that's just so gratifying. I love seeing that.
You know what? One of my passions is impact. right?
Mhm.
It's impact. And I love to be around people who are impact minded and creating impact. And you two are exuding with impact. You're creating so much impact right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
So the question is, where can we go to find you guys? Where, what you have any websites? You have any
Mhm.
social media presence? Like, talk to us. Where can we go to inquire more about your services?
Mhm.
The easiest thing is just to go to the website, which is parentingagingparents.com. That's where we post all of the interviews that we do with experts. So you can just kind of look around and see if there's a topic maybe that's of interest to you. And there's also a button right on the homepage that lets you click on it and it takes you right to the Facebook group to see if that's something that somebody would want to join.
Awesome. And what can we do for you right now? Right? What resources do you need currently? Talk to us.
Well, I think just if if anyone knows people who this could support and help, if you have a coworker or a sibling, or if you need it, and your siblings need it, or if you have companies that you feel like we have a company that we're talking to this afternoon who reached out to us because they just said we have so many of our employees going through this and talking about this, and we want to try to support them. So I think just if you know of a company that would maybe an employee resource group or even the company itself to be able to help them help their employees better as well.
Yeah, if you know anybody, just one person, I would almost guarantee you
Yes.
that they need to know about us. Because if they don't have aging parents right now, they probably will in the long run. So 99% of the people out there need to know about it, because again, it's the plan ahead situation. It's going to make you feel better if you're 25 years old and your parents are in their 50s and you go ahead and make sure, Mom, Dad, can I get a copy of the will? Do we have a power of attorney? Because I don't need it now, but someday I might. And if I know that it's here and it's going to be in that file cabinet, if I ever need it at your home, then boom, it's ready. Mom, Dad, should we talk about what are your plans someday? Where do you want to live when you get to be 70, 80 years old? Do you want to live in independent living? Do you want to live with me? Do you want to live in a huge mansion somewhere by yourself? Where do you want to live? So just open that up, open that discussion up. But I guarantee you that everyone needs that. Everyone does. And if you know 100 people or 1,000 people who are together, or 10,000 people who are all together that we can talk to, that even be better, because we can, get it all done at once.
Yes, indeed. The more connections, the better, the bigger and better the impact, right?
Yes, exactly.
So one other question I've got to ask you guys: how is the group structured? Do you guys have like a Q&A, live Q&A? Do you guys how is it structured? Just share that with us if you don't mind.
Inside the Facebook group, it's really just ask questions as you go. So people will post and say, hey, I mean, just this last week, which I'm trying to think of one of the not funny questions, because there's so many questions that one was this week, Mom and Dad, we need to sell their cars and we don't know where the car titles are. Does anybody have any advice? What do we do? So a lot of people just post a question to say, hey, this is what I'm going through, or hey, does anybody know of a home healthcare agency in Dallas, or things like that. So it's really just, it's open so that people can post questions and then people comment and give insight as well. And then we do have a founding family members that we still have open. That's a membership that we're doing some extra special stuff for them, live Q&As with experts where they can really ask their questions and that kind of thing, and get those very specific answers. Because as much as we've realized, there are so many things that are very similar in all of our situations.
Yes, indeed.
In every family, though, there's still things that are just a little bit different, based on personalities or, family dynamics or whatever, or just financial situations. So it's just being able to help people when you can have that person to be able to ask your specific question. So you're going to get a better answer than sometimes piecing together from other places.
Yeah. And on our website, we're also going to start a resource guide. I guess you could say a page basically to go to if you're looking for somebody, maybe it's not necessarily someone you want to hire, but maybe even just ask questions of, whether it's an attorney or someone in home care or home health care or in hospice or whatever it may be. Again, just to give you an idea of where should I start, because like Kim said, that's the hardest part, is as opposed to so many things that we often see as we're growing up, as we're getting older and we're trying to emulate other people about driving or raising kids or anything like that. It's so different here because we all have the different medical conditions. We all have different family dynamics. We all have different financial situations. So it's impossible to say, oh, if our neighbor did it like this,
Mhm.
we need to do it like this too, because everyone's so different and it's impossible to be like that. But again, if you have some place where you know, oh, I need to go find someone to ask this question of and figure out what direction I need to go for my individual particular situation,
Mhm.
it helps tremendously.
Yes, indeed. Customization, it's definitely important.
Yeah.
So, Mike and Kim, thank you for coming on today's episode of How May I Serve You? And I also like to thank all of our listeners and viewers for lending us their ears and their eyeballs. And I have one last question for you guys. How may I serve you?
Oh,
That's so nice. Yes. Wow.
Well, we're just so grateful that you had us on to talk about this today. That's a great way. That's been a great way for us to be able to, again, just share what we're doing and help people know that we're here to support them.
Yeah. Again, that's the biggest thing.
So I think you've already done it.
Yeah. Thank you. Giving us the platform to get the word out, because you don't understand how many people are out there. And I didn't realize it until we started the group, but how many people are out there going through something similar to us and even harder, 24/7 caregivers for an aging mother or father or both. And they feel so alone. And if they know that they have this community that can help them, support them, and just share love with them, then it'll enrich their lives tremendously.
Yes, indeed. I agree with you 100%. You guys.
And how may we serve you?
You know what? Continue doing what you're doing right now, right? Because you are providing an immense amount of impact, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be tapping into your group sometime soon.
Do it before you need it. That's always the biggest piece of advice.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, again, this is your host, Thomas Johnson. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share it with someone that would benefit. And make sure to tune in for next week's episode. Take care, stay blessed, and cheers. We out.